Well, I think we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Did everybody have a chance to read the minutes of the last regular meeting?
I have one question on there. Under old business property cleanup, it says in there that Lampe Motorsports will be getting another letter. I know initially Lauren had mentioned that, but I didn't know that we had.
I didn't think they were getting.
I don't think we were
another
decided to go that. Because you had mentioned writing another letter, and we'd already sent them this final notice.
We already sent
it.
It was a final notice, right?
Okay. So I don't think that we actually. She brought up sending them another letter, but I don't think we actually decided to send them another.
Okay.
And I'm going to talk about that.
I will scratch that.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'll move to approve with that correction.
Okay, it's been moved by Amanda, second by Cale. All in favor? Minutes are approved. Now we have the minutes of the October 18th special meeting. Everybody have a chance to read those.
I have one question on that one, too. There at the end, a decision is expected to be made at the next regular council meeting. Did we actually say we'd make a decision, or we would just be back in touch with them after this meeting? I don't know that we ever decided that we would. We'll discuss it and at least get back to them. Did we ever say that we'd make a final?
Well, I didn't.
I think it just depends how we discuss it tonight.
Yeah.
I think I guess what I was thinking is, as a decision was a decision whether to hire or not hire, any decision. So how do you want that worded?
I mean, if we wanted to bring them in for an additional, a second interview and that kind of thing.
Right.
I don't know. Just like that makes it sound like we were deciding either we were or we weren't. So I don't know.
How would you like it to read?
What the discussion is expected. A discussion and follow up with the applicants.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we at least let them know that we would follow up with them. Yeah.
Okay, wait. A discussion, what?
And follow up with the applicants. That way, in case we wanted to
Okay. With the
call them back
applicants.
in,
Or just pick one.
we can pick one, or we can say we don't want to pick any of them, or we can say we want to bring
Okay,
back.
so
a
discussion and
interview.
follow up with the applicants following the next regular council meeting?
Yep.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would move to approve.
Okay, been moved by Amanda, second by Larry. All in favor? Approved. Okay, Sheriff's report. Cody.
I had a discussion with Lauren today about the property cleanup. I was under the same misunderstanding of what our next step was going to do. I think she cleared it up to what we as the Sheriff's Office need to do as the next step, which is just go right for the city ordinance that are in direct violation that are observed. If we go around the corner and we see a direct violation, we're going to have to stop, write a ticket, serve that ticket at that time. Her and I worked out a procedure of what we're going to do as far as the technical, the details and stuff. I too was underneath the misunderstanding that there was going to be another letter and a subpoena into the city court directly for the combined violations. But that was my misunderstanding. Lauren cleared that up with me today as we discussed. And I realized that there's probably a couple other properties that we probably need to do probably the same type of enforcement action. I'm going to go around. I'm going to do it instead of the deputies. I'm going to go around, look at those properties, and I'll check with JR and Lauren, and before I go write a ticket on the ordinance on those to make sure that we've warned them, we've written them a letter, we've done whatever we need to do to ensure that we're ready to start writing citations on those properties. Also discussed, we had a lot of things in city court that we kind of cleared up. I'll let Lauren talk about that if she wants to. That's not really my deal. We were down by 60 calls. I did not have a chance to get a report done today before I came in. Going back and forth between Birch City a lot today with Frank Serrano's family. But we were down 60 calls, which is a dramatic decrease of calls. I will say, we have put a lot of people in DOC lately, and a lot of those people will be getting out in the next year. So that's, I think, having a lot of people in Department of Corrections is what's driving our low call volume, but because they were the repeat customers that we dealt with on a regular basis, but they will be out someday. Repeat customers, they keep us in business. But like I said, I do know we had 60 less calls than what we've had in the previous months, this last month. And that's, when you're talking about we average about 130 calls a month, that's a dramatic decrease. Like I said, I think that's being driven by, we finally got some people in the DOC that needed to go to the DOC. So, other than that, I think I expressed last year that we didn't know how things were going to go because COVID was hot. I think we, right or wrong, as we're getting out there and starting to do stuff more and more, we're finding out what is right, what is wrong, and how to do things, and what generates responses, what doesn't generate responses, what actions we take that solves the problem, what actions we take are not solving problems. But I think we're kind of finding our flow on that. Our new deputy will start November 1st. He'll have to train, obviously, through KLATC and everything. It takes about 6 months once from beginning to end until they're out on their own. But since the first time since we've had the contract, we'll be fully staffed and hopefully be able to run more steady on having deputies who are in town specifically and not leaving town during certain hours of the day. And I think that will also help generate enforcement and compliance with things.
You have a night shift right now?
We have a night shift, but it's one person, and starting at 8 p.m., it goes to one person throughout the night, and that one person covers all 1,100 square miles. So that's why when we get this other guy down trained, it won't be every night, but on our high call volume nights, then we will have 2 out and 1 will be stationed that he'll have a 5-mile radius around St. that he's responsible for, and the other deputy will have the other 1,100 square miles, or 1,095 square miles that he's responsible for. But it'll improve our response time, and I think it also will improve taking care of nuisance, I hate to use that word, but nuisance complaints and stuff, because instead of generating that because somebody's called us and alerted to us, the deputy actually just driving around will see things, and instead of just, we get called to it and we take care of it when we get called to it. I think just having that extra person will help us be more proactive on city ordinance things and stuff like that as it affects the city directly. I think that's where you'll start seeing direct effect is more enforcement of city ordinances without having to be called to that by a concerned citizen. But right now, the deputy can be anywhere in 1,100 square miles. Somebody calls and complains, of course he's going to go and take care of the problem, but he's not driving around all the time looking, saying, oh, well, hey, there's that. So I think it'll be a good thing to have that full-time person. That puts us up to what I originally predicted we needed to cover everything adequately. So.
You gonna make it?
Get some water.
They know, about the ordinance on the trailers being off the streets, RVs.
Yes,
and that.
yes,
From
I saw that, and
October.
we had a discussion about that. Once a month, we have our team meeting, and that's usually when I discuss that type of stuff, is our monthly team meeting. Because I'll catch 2, not the 3rd deputy, and then one deputy will say one thing, the other one will say the other one, so I just kind of hold on to it until we have a monthly team meeting and then tell them about things like that. So I have to admit that starting in the middle of the week, this time period now, I haven't really paid attention to what the guys have been doing, so I haven't seen if they've done any enforcement action on that yet or not. It's just kind of been a blur of stuff in the last 6 days, so I haven't paid attention to see if there's been any enforcement, but they're aware of what you guys want for enforcement.
I think Lauren had helped me last week on the issuance of ticket, and I visited with Lila. Well, it was too many dogs, but there was a citation issued, and Lila went digging back, and 3 years ago we had the same issue, and actually my favor of a letter giving them 30 days to comply. And so, not saying the way we did it in the past was the correct way or the way we're doing it now, but now that we've got a new attorney and
Yeah. Yeah.
Police force, I thought maybe that was a good discussion to see if maybe some of the ordinance violations should be handled, here's a letter you have 30 days to.
Mhm.
Remember or 15, and then after that, instead of, I don't know, what are your thoughts?
On
I thought
that
it would be good
particular
discussion.
case, and I don't disagree with what you're saying on top, they fixed the problem in my case in the letter. They didn't continue to have the problem and then it just caught up to them again. They lowered the number of dogs they had, and then, knowing they weren't supposed to have that many dogs, went out and got that many more dogs again.
So we're actually talking two different cases here.
Oh, are we?
There was-
Okay.
Yeah.
But that one that they issued the citation, there was a violation back then, too. Remember, you looked it up, and they went and they got
Are we talking about the barking or the quantity?
the quantity.
Okay.
So there was two cases last
Two
year
cases or three years ago.
in
One was,
2018.
one was cited and she moved out of town, and the other was cited and they came in and brought their rabies vaccinations
Yes.
and got city tags for 3 dogs, which would be the one you're talking about, that now is in violation again.
Yes.
Yeah. Because like I said, that one, the husband was telling us, we got in trouble for this once before, and we got rid of the dogs. And I told her if she kept collecting dogs again, we're going to get in trouble. And I kind of, I agree with you on what you're saying, but if I'm sitting there listening to somebody saying we knew what we were doing was wrong, but we did it anyways.
And that's when I found out it was a repeat, but
Yeah.
some of those things that we can, working together, is there an easier way to write a letter, you're in violation,
And
as opposed to,
I
once
agree.
you cite them, then there's a court cost of $158, and
Mhm.
if it's a first-time offense, and it's a minor ordinance violation, do we, especially like not having your dog tagged.
Well, right, not having a dog tag, I mean, to tag a dog, it's like $5. And so, I mean, $158 of court costs, just boom, for not having a dog tag. That, I mean, plus the fines, that seems a bit excessive, not having a chicken permit. Barking dogs, I mean, I get if you're going to go tell them that they're, I get if the deputies are going to go tell them that the dogs are barking and they need to be remedied, and I'm talking about the most recent citation that was issued, not the one before. We're just going to put that aside. The actual barking dog ordinance. I think if the deputy goes and says, hey, this is, your dogs are barking, you need to abate that, and then reach out to me, and I will send a letter and state, on this date, as you know, on this date, the sheriff's office stopped by and did this. This is your written warning letting you know that if it happens again, then it will be cited. Because the most recent barking dog, I don't know if they had been warned before that?
Like 3 nights in a row, yes.
Okay.
So, and that, again, it wasn't the first time we went and knocked on the door.
Right.
It was, we're back again.
Right.
Back.
I think the thing with that is, especially like when it comes into municipal court, is that I don't know if you find this, I think you've said this before, that you're not finding in district court people contesting nearly as much as they are in municipal court. When your officers issue a citation, they need to act like they're giving me an arrest affidavit, because I need to be able to say, this is why. If they're issuing a citation for a barking dog, one of them needs to shoot me an email or just write a note and drop it off at my office just so I have some idea what's going on.
And like I said, and it goes back to that learning.
Right.
And I'll tell you, what I learned was, and maybe, like I said, I'm open to trying the other idea. We tried to operate for a while, being really nice guys. We learned we were just going back to the same addresses again
Right.
and again and again.
Or
We're going
like
to
it's having a piece of paper that says,
golly, you need to get your dogs taken care of, and we're back there again. Hey,
Right.
please take care of your dog. And we were learning that, I hate to say this because this is completely against my nature, but being nice guys was not working with dogs. It just was, we were going back to the same houses, whether they were on the loose, whether they're barking. We were just going back, and warning them, talking to them was not solving an issue.
Right, but I mean, there's no, I guess my issue here is, so with that case, it came in, that individual said in open court they wanted to just take care of it, they'd pay whatever fine it was right now. They do that. I don't have anything, I don't have any record of that. I give them a $25 fine.
Okay.
If they've been keeping their neighbors up and you've been there 3 nights in a row, I need to know that. I'll ask for a $100 fine in sentencing. Like, without any documentation, I'm going to assume this is a first instance, and I'm going to be very lenient. But if this is the 4th night in a row they've been back there, because they were there the 3 nights before, I need something telling me that, because otherwise I won't know.
Yeah, and I'm
Having
trying
something
to
on
find
paper
written
that is
warnings
knocking on the door,
we
you know.
discussed that, getting
Yeah.
written warning. You know, and to be honest, one of the hard part is there's hardly anybody making written tickets anymore because everybody's going to the digital tickets. But, maybe it's something we just need to make ourselves on a sheet of paper that we make a double up and get one. We serve one to them and then keep a record of it, and then when we write a ticket, we can give that record to Warren that we were there and wrote that we were going to
Whether it
sign
be
it.
a letter or just a written notice, hey, you're in violation of the ordinance, you have 15 days, a week, 30, whatever it is to remedy the problem.
I'm gonna inject, and I'm gonna be at the opposite opinion. If you give them 15 days, when you're getting 5 or 6 angry neighbors, those neighbors aren't gonna want to wait 15 days.
Well,
They haven't slept for 2
depending on
nights, they're not gonna
depending
want to
on what
sleep
it-
another 15.
Right, I mean, if it's a barking dog, you have 48 hours to abate the condition.
Mhm.
If it's a dog that doesn't have a tag, obviously, 48 hours, if it's a weekend, they're not going to be able to come into City Hall. So that's what I'm saying, just whatever it may be for whatever ordinance violation it is.
I'll be more than happy to do it that way. Like I said, it just seems to the point of being disrespectful to you
Right.
guys as the city council, and your ordinances, and disrespectful to us as law enforcement when we go knock on the door and say, listen, your dog's kept the neighbors up all night. Oh, I'm sorry, we'll take care of it. The next night, your dog's kept the neighbors up all night. You need to do something. Oh, we'll take care of it. And, like the 4th time, you're like, this person really doesn't give a crap, do they?
Yeah.
So if you did have a way to write a warning that would say you got right on there, the barking dog, you got 48 hours to resolve this issue. And if they don't, then that could be a citation. And then if it's just that they don't have a dog tag on it, you can say 15 days to get that taken care of. And
Yeah.
so you could make a note on that ticket.
And we can make a note on the actual physical ticket when we write it, but we need to do the warning thing. I agree with you. I've been trying to find a warning phone that will work for us. But on the ticket, there's a place on where they can write officers' notes. And they could write those notes, and they can write on there, went to address 3 times in the last 72 hours, or something like that. The other thing is, we can burn the body camera footage because they're having the body camera on when they're going up and talking to them. Because I know sometimes there's been a couple people say, no, nobody ever told me, no, we have it on body camera where you said you were going to take care of it. You were fully aware this was a problem, and body camera doesn't lie.
Right. Well, and I guess that's just the thing, is that I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we can work with you. I mean, if it's something that can be, if it's a dog that's not tagged, or if it's somebody who's had a chicken permit, or it's something that's not, doesn't need to imminently be addressed. Anything with a vehicle should be imminently addressed, obviously. Not, hey, your vehicle's not registered, you need to comply within 30 days. No, if you know to register your vehicle, write them a ticket.
And like I said,
but
it comes from the point of the verbal, not the written, giving verbal warnings, and we still give verbal warnings first. We don't write tickets on the first time we go over to somebody's house.
And I think the more thing is the documentation. Is because, if you've been there 3 days in a row and it's not until the 4th time, or, if it's the 3rd time you're issuing the ticket or the 4th time you're issuing the ticket, I don't see that. I don't know that. Your deputies don't email me. They don't provide me written statements. They don't send me body cam footage. They don't put it in the notes on the tickets. And so I was like, okay, $25 fine. It seems like the problem's been taken care of.
And that's the other thing we're learning.
Yeah.
But, the brain, Pablo's dog, we learn, we write a ticket, the problem's usually solved by the time they go to court because they want to come in and see you and say, we've taken care of the problem.
So in municipal court, I can't address it. That's because so when you write it for district court, they can go up and the clerk of the court can take care of it. For municipal court, most violations, if they don't have, our ordinance says most violations, if they don't, our ordinance says if a violation does not have a penalty attached to it, it is up to $1,000 fine or 6 months in jail with the maximum of a Class B misdemeanor. So it doesn't say what it is. So it's not like, oh, you were this, you go in and pay it. They can do it for speeding tickets because we have, if all they were doing, up to a point, we have, this is 20, this is 40, this is 60, or whatever the numbers are. I don't know them off the top of my head. Running a stop sign. We have, motor vehicle violations, moving violations, we have an amount and a fee schedule for. But in municipal court, it's always a summons, because anything that's a true ordinance violation, if it doesn't have exactly what it is, the property cleanup, if you're found to be guilty in violation of that, it's $50 to $100 a day, because the purpose is to get you to get on it and clean it up. But outside of that, it's a range. It could be anywhere from $0 to $1,000. And so I get that a lot of times district court, they'll just go in and resolve it, but we don't have that option. They don't have that option in municipal court. Further, I can't talk to them until they waive their right to counsel. And they can't do that until Judge Keller offers them that form.
So I want to make sure that I'm clear, because sometimes we have misunderstanding. We're going to make a form that's going to give them a 48-hour warning.
You can give them 24. You can say you have blank day parenthesis S, and if it's 24 hours, it's 1 day, and if it's...
And we're going to serve that to them. We're going to make a copy.
Mm-hmm.
And if we go back to that address and we write the city ordinance, I think the best way is to attach, when it's sent to you, a copy of that they were served that warning.
Right.
It's kind of like what we do with trespassing. It's the same type of thing we do with the trespassing warning. We give them a piece of paper that says you've been warned. Come back. If you're on this property again, you're going to get arrested. And we'll word it pretty similar, and I'll let you look at it and make sure the wording correct.
Right.
So, and like I said, I just want to make sure I have the procedure right. We serve them the warning for the dog violation. We write a ticket, a municipal ticket. We will attach that warning to the ticket when we send it to you. And that will be they've been served the warning, now they've been served the ticket.
That would be great, because then I know that it's been addressed, and it's been addressed, and they either chose not to remedy it, or, perhaps mitigating circumstances, but that'll be a determination that's made in court. So that way we know, because I just don't know. The other thing I wanted to point out about the property cleanup, about that final notice that was sent last time that we talked about, I just want to touch on that now before we go to, before we get to property cleanup, because I don't know if you're going to be... Okay, I'll just touch on the property cleanup with the final notice now. In that notice, I changed what the normal letter says. And the reason that I did that is because I included violations under Chapter 13, not just under Chapter 8, which are, properties, and it's the property cleanup ordinance in Chapter 8. I also included 13, 110, 13, 210, 13, 601, and 13, 701. And those are having goods on a sidewalk, impeding traffic, impeding a sidewalk, blocking a street or an alleyway. I believe it might not be in the right order. But the ordinances for property cleanup state in the ordinance that you are to be notified you have 10 days to clean it up, or 15 days to request presence with the council, and if it's not done by that time, then it goes to court. The ordinances specifically allow that 10-day period. And so in order to follow due process, I have to give 10 days in order to do it under Chapter 8. It's a requirement of the ordinances And so I will say, you need to clean it up. It gets cleaned up. It gets cleaned up. That letter is no longer because he complied. It goes back to the way it was. I mean, unless the first of the month is going to become send a letter day, which we could, it's just going to keep going through that cycle. I included those other ordinances to put him on notice. Those do not require a 10-day waiting period. He can be cited for those when they drive by and see them. And so I talked to Cody today and I said, I can keep having you serve him papers, but we're never going to actually get him into court. I'm hoping that the way we can we can reduce or alleviate this issue is by citing things that are immediately ticketable and do come with that $158 court cost plus whatever fines come with it based on what they've cited for. And so in doing that, I'm hoping 2, 3, 4 of these actually coming into court and actually having fines assessed and actually having penalties enforced as opposed to just, hey, you got 10 days to clean it up. I'm hoping that will abate the conditions as opposed to just delay the conditions for another cycle.
And that's where my misunderstanding was over that cleanup with the 10-day thing. And when Torn met with me this morning, we discussed it. And it took a lawyer to explain it to me. I kept reading the 10-day, the 10-day. I was like, oh.
Yeah, but it's 10 days every time is the problem.
That's where my misunderstanding of it came. But talking to Lauren and her, saying, well, I included these other things, and you might want to look at these things. So I included them in the letter. Those do not require it.
I technically have to have 10 days every time. Like when we sent the final notice, and the council said, can we send a final notice? Not for property cleanup, but we gave him notice of all those other ordinances.
And that, like I said, Lauren opened my eyes to those other avenues and those other ordinances, because I was like, go give him 10 days every day and time. But she had opened my eyes to another route to go about this. So I apologize for the misunderstanding. I was stuck on that 10 days that we had, whatever.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I got a quick question. Just, can you give us any kind of update on the telephone or the ball field? Has there been any progress?
Absolutely. I got a question for Lauren.
Does everybody know about the damage?
Since it's an open investigation, I have no problem discussing city council, but can we go into executive session to discuss an open investigation?
That's a legal matter.
Yeah. So I have no problem discussing it. I just don't want it to be on the open record.
Yeah, give me just a second here to see what subsection. It's not what I wanted. Yes, we can go into executive session. I just want to make sure we have the correct subsection. Yeah, we'll do consultation with an attorney which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship because it's an ongoing investigation.
Make a motion to go into executive session for 5 minutes.
Okay.
For the purpose of
Attorney-client privilege conversation.
attorney-client privilege conversation.
Ongoing investigation.
Ongoing investigation.
Is that everybody? You want everybody in here?
Yeah, everybody in there. I don't know if you guys are recorded or not.
No. We'll set it up.
Larry, you need a motion and I have a second.
I'm out of 7:35 then.
At what time?
7:35.
Okay, hold.
Okay, well, I think we can come back out. Okay. Now, is there any more discussion with the sheriffs? If not, do I hear a motion to accept and file the sheriff's report? Moved by Larry, second by Bear, all in favor? Approved. Thank you, Cody.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, new business. We have the public transportation letter of commitment. We give them $5,500 each year, and they're just wanting to know that we're going to do that again, so we got to have it in writing to them and so forth. So do I hear a motion to approve the public transportation letter of commitment of $5,500?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Carol, second by Amanda. All in favor? Approved.
And the letter's there for everybody to sign.
Which one is that for?
The gray van that
It
you
is
can...
for the transportation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to old business, property cleanup. Any further discussion on property cleanups?
Lauren had just sent me the, I guess, and maybe everybody else, the email on the McCoy property, the follow-up from when he was here. I think everybody got that one. That's the primary one that's in play.
I had sent it out on Friday. I had also prepped on Friday to go the other 3 properties that were Gadway, Caldwell, and the Webster, not Webster, Whittier property. I can't think of the name. McGinnis. So those 3 went out today. Gadway has to be served by certified mail returner, so you requested the other 2. I believe were taken up to the sheriff's office for service by either Holly or Janet today, and with copy to Lila and JR. So those were probably dropped off this afternoon, I would.
Oh, it's hard copies then?
Hard
Okay.
copies,
Good.
yeah.
I just want those so I have the dates so I can keep updated.
Right. And the reason I did it today is because I like to send out notice. I like to do all of my municipal court things kind of at once. It makes it more efficient for me, and I'm in it, and we're going, and it's just kind of easy to get it all taken care of. And I'm able to do it kind of quicker once I'm in that mode. And so 15 days from today is the 9th of November. Municipal court happens on the 10th of November. So then on the 11th or the 12th, when I'm getting notices sent out for the following in December, if they haven't responded by the 9th or they haven't gotten it cleaned up by the 9th, when I'm doing that, I can also take care of getting them summoned to the December municipal court. So that's why I did it the timing the way that I did.
But that's assuming we are able to serve them immediately too, because everyone's
Right.
with that, right?
Right. And the Gadway one has to have a signature on it because it's certified mail. And so what I've done is I've flagged the following week to follow up with property cleanup if there's not anything there. Because I usually don't do my municipal court stuff until Thursday or Friday after municipal court, and I'm imagining that as far as the Caldwell and the McGinnis, that the sheriff's office will be able to get them served in the next day or 2.
And I just want to reiterate, I haven't seen the letters, I didn't see the hard copies, that they're given the time to abate, the time to request the hearing, and then the day. Okay.
Right, yeah, so they are given 10 days to abate or 15 days to request a hearing. And if it's not done by that time, then they will be brought up with a summons in front of the court. And so they get that letter, they get the pictures that you sent, and they get the pictures that you sent to me. So that's what goes to them. So they know what we're looking at when we tell them they need to do it.
Okay, anything else on property cleanup? Project pending? Anything we need to discuss there?
I visited with Michael Baxter today. He was at the courthouse, and I actually caught him. Peter Lawson with the crossovers.
Yeah.
I tried to call you because he would like some additional information.
Okay.
So if we can touch base, I didn't catch you.
Okay.
It was like
Drawings or just background?
some previous information.
Okay.
So yeah.
Sure.
Call me or I'll call you tomorrow.
Okay.
Anyways, so
Very good.
I talked to them and we'll get them some more information. We'll go from there.
Okay, anything else on project spending?
Well, we have to go either anything on the ATV so we do flags.
No, I thought that I was waiting until,
January.
it's going to be first of the year when it's effective, so I thought I was waiting until November to draft it, present it in December, have it published in December, and then, because we have to publish it, and it'll be effective as of the first of the year. But I have it flagged to do for November to get it drafted, and it will be at the second, I will bring it to the second meeting.
I don't think it should just include ATV, I think it should be on golf carts too. Any,
Right, I thought that's what we were doing, I thought we had done that, that's
I
what I
mean,
thought.
we've got it down
Yeah.
ATV, but we need to make sure it's the golf cart, the little guarded tractor, if he's still going to go around next summer, make sure that all those have flags on them. Stick up in the air. Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to put, so I was going to modify the ordinance that says, that they have to have their own special little registration. I was going to do a subsection of that, like that ordinance number -A, and put it in there that they have to have a flag affixed to it. I may try and get that done for the first meeting so we can have it discussed, and then I can modify it for the second meeting. Because I think we discussed it needs to be 6 feet in the air. The flag needs to be 6 feet tall. We had discussion about if it's too short, you're not going to be able to see it. And so I thought 6 feet was what we had decided. That's what
I think 6 foot's reasonable.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I don't think
Those little bikes that people ride,
right.
and they got those little
Yeah.
tall ones on those.
Yeah. I mean, the flag doesn't need to be, the flag height doesn't need to be 6 feet. The flag just needs to be 6 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
No, you don't need to be 6 feet from the top of the golf cart. You just need to be.
And I'm assuming though you'll re-inspect those. I know like
When they
renewal
come in,
ones, you guys
yeah.
haven't been, but where we're modifying things,
Yeah,
we'll start.
and that would be
re-inspecting
part of
them.
the changes when you guys do that going into next year. I'm planning on, while we're talking about that, since this year started off disastrously with the golf carts, I'm planning on in January doing an information blitz and saying, this Saturday, January 15th, the sheriff's office will be at the fairgrounds or wherever. It'd be a great day for everybody to come down and get their vehicles registered for the year. And then we'll have 2 or 3 guys that are doing it. And hopefully, a lot of the people come in and just bring in. We just assembly line, expecting to have Lawrence.
It is Saturday.
Is it? That's a good guess, wasn't it? So that's kind of one of my, kind of like a PR plan or whatever, saying, calling the paper, putting it in the paper, putting it on Facebook, doing things like that, and hopefully we catch a lot of the renewals doing that, saying, hey, this Saturday would be a great Saturday. We have a warm space you can pull into. If we could use, the firefighters EMS lets us use their building, we can pull 2 or 3 of them in at a time, look at them, make sure they have a flag, fill out the paperwork, check their insurance and everything, and then have them make a U-turn and go open the door, have them go out, take the next ones in, and go that way. And hopefully, I thought maybe if we made it a PR thing, it might get a lot of compliance early in the year.
You will need Jen or I or the new clerk there.
Yeah, and that was part of my thing was saying, make sure you need to sometime during the week, or if you guys wanted to help on that Saturday, that would be
Yeah,
great
either
too.
way, but they'd have to have it paid
Yeah.
before you did that.
Yeah, and that's part of, like I said, the information was part of it was, don't forget, you have to have your receipt. to do
Yeah,
it
we could
because-
be out there helping.
Okay,
taking
when we get
the
planned, I'll
payment.
work with you, and we'll find
Yeah.
a time in mid-January or something, let the holidays get through and everything, and then we'll get to work on it. And
Can we go across the highway?
they could cross the highway, they can't go down the highway.
We don't want to do it right out here in front of the courthouse.
It seems a little chilly in mid-January. It seems a little chilly, to be honest, but, like I said, the fairgrounds, some.
I was going to say, they're going to drive them right at Main Street. Have somebody inspecting them, and then have somebody citing them as they're leaving. Bye, loser!
Yeah, and it's like, especially when we went there, people were warning people. Like, you really need to get your new tag, you need to do this, you need to do the rule. Okay, and then they come up to do it, and you're like, you pull, what? And it's like, you didn't want to be that big of a jerk and say, I'm going to write you a ticket. Well, it's like, okay, we're going to do your inspection and everything and get you going, but remember, you can't drive. Oh, yeah. It's like, I'm like, I just sit there and just face palm. And I told him yesterday, when I told him, and that is one thing that was one of the ones where warnings did work immediately. Like I said, we've been learning a lot of city ordinance. You can warn them 5 times before somebody decides to apply. But on the golf carts and ATVs, we pull them over once. And I think the embarrassment of people driving by while they're in their golf cart and the sheriff vehicle sitting behind them, they usually showed up within 24 hours to get their stuff when we pull them over. So, you can follow them. They drive right down Main Street, right to Knightsville, get their insurance, and come back up Main Street. I'm like, at least they're getting that part done,
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
I should put a trail camera outside of my office so you can just
I don't want to.
oh my God, the J turn.
Oh, yeah, they got them all the time.
I went out the other day. Somebody came in hot, and I came out, and I said, if you ever do that in front of my office again, I'm going to go get the sheriff to come down and cite you.
Well, it's not, like this morning, I seen a Colorado car drive. Well, they don't know it. But the local people that do know it, and they still do it.
There's signs on the street.
And most places you go, it's illegal to cross a lane of traffic to park on the street.
Yeah.
And that is pretty standard, at least in our part of the country. Bird City, it's not illegal, so people do it all the time, but people laugh at it's not illegal in Bird City because it's unusual that it's not illegal in Bird City, or in some place, so.
I had our GIS guy was on, and we went to lunch, and we went right past the courthouse, and I'm like, and he wants a U-turn right at the intersection. He's like, oh, you're going to flip around, I'm sure everybody does. I'm like, no, there's no U-turn line right in front of the courthouse.
And I did, and just so you know, that's one of those, maybe I'm too nice sometimes. I did tell the deputies, I was like, why are these intersections being worked on and blocked on? We're not going to pick on people for U-turns and stuff because people are going to be like, oh, crap, I can't see it. I'm like, it just kind of, we're going to be pretty forgiving why the intersections are blocked.
When I did it.
I did it. That's why I was like, I did it. And I went up there and I was like, oh, I don't have time for this. And I made the U-turn. I went up there. I was like, by the way, guys, since I just did it, we're not going to pick on people. So I intentionally told the guys to be lenient on that stuff, why the intersections and the streets are being worked on, because people were being, and I shouldn't say we're all today. I shouldn't remember that street was blocked. But again, I turned and I was like, oh, I don't have time to drive clear down the North Street. So we did offer some publicity and money.
Okay, anything else on project pending? Okay, street project.
So McCormick was back last week. That wasn't part of their scheduled work. They broke down in Colby, so it kind of threw us into a confusing schedule. They did do a fair amount of additional work, but that was due to just the breakdown in Colby. They've now remobilized there, which puts them a little bit later back to here. But it should be the latter part of this week or next week when they come back to finish, and they'll be here until it's done at that point.
How much do they have left?
So I've been through this a couple times. So since they did that, I think there's just a single lift here on Benton. They have to mill all this on this side. I think there's 3 blocks there. North Francis. Where the other part is.
Right on the
I should have looked at this because they did somewhere. Because they did most of it right here.
right on the east side of the courthouse. But they still have another
Yeah.
right over there.
That has another there. That's correct.
Up on Fourth Street, they still got to finish that too. There's quite a few places.
There is, I mean, because when they run lifts, they do it, they'll go around and do the single lift all the way through and then come back and finish. A lot of the work they did was finishing up the seams of the aprons and stuff because they had so many people that they were actually doing a lot of hand work that they did in doing some more milling and asphalt laying.
As you look at that, where Parkway meets Francis, where is it? Does it look about like that?
Parkway,
Yeah, where,
the concrete asphalt.
yeah, where it curves.
Yes, I did. And yes, I did bring that to
I
his attention. I forgot to
assume
mention
you'll fill that in.
it has to be, yeah. The way that's lowered in that spot, that has to be filled in, yes. And I did bring it to his attention. He said he had to look at it, but he said there shouldn't be a reason to be a 2-inch dip on concrete asphalt. And it is old asphalt, so I'm sure it should be patched. He just didn't go back and look at it
Yeah.
yet.
Okay, let's move on to building permits. Okay, superintendent report.
Okay, I don't have very much. The boiler is still inoperable at the power plant, makes me a little bit nervous, but they will be here the end of this week or first part of next week. I just talked to him today. It is fully installed. They just have to do the startup on the thing. So it's a lot closer than it was. They did come back and get the flue and everything wired and put back in. So we should be good, but I'm ready for the water to be warm at the power plant in case we need to use it. The board did complete the work for this year. Can't remember what our discussion has been on the budget for the next year, but I would like to start talking to them about the next year. Do you know, Lila? I'm actually meant to check with you. We can look back in minutes and catch it on the next one, but I want to be able to prioritize the work, knowing what money what we suggested we was going to do, and whether to make sure we have the money, which is the electric utility. It shouldn't be an issue, but I would certainly press to keep the money flowing towards the improvements on the electrical. So let's look back on the minutes and see what our discussion was. I don't know if we would have ever had a motion on anything.
I don't think so.
Discussion.
Yeah.
Yes. Because, and part of the reasoning for that is it is the electric utility, usually where a lot of the cash is. It's just a matter of transfers and other things. Would be the only reason we want to be cautious. But I'm hoping we could do as much as we did this year. I talked to Brock again about the pool and the steps. Obviously, the steps and the Main Street work that we want to do, I don't want to do those this year because it's salt. The pool, I just want, like I told him, I just want these things on the schedule for spring, and I'm just going to keep contacting him. So hopefully we can get those 3 things, because that Main Street drainage was supposed to get done this year, but it's too late. I mean, we'll end up with bad concrete, and the same thing is true with the steps. It'll end up with ice. So I'll keep working on Brock to get that scheduled for early spring and/or the pricing for the pool and the steps. The final thing I've got is John Hathaway, I can't think of the firm, apologize, just sent me an email on the theater. It looks like we have complete drawings for the proposed theater work. Eventually we'll be able to get to a bid process if that's where we get to. I think the next thing is probably with Hanson and some funding, where we go from there, because we split the cost in order to be able to get this work done to then apply for the greater funding. But just received it, haven't been able to review it yet. And actually, that's all I've got this evening.
Did they include an invoice with the
They
drawing?
did.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Didn't I forward that to you?
No.
I just got it at the end of the day.
Okay.
I'll forward it
Well,
to
maybe you did. I didn't check my mail tonight.
Oh, and just quickly, Lauren, I think the reason I was waiting on that trash contract was you can put on a draft and/or red line the changes that you had made on it, maybe?
I
just
thought I
looked
had
at
the
it.
red line.
The one you just sent me is just black, and that's not a problem. I mean, I can compare it to the other one as well, but I think that was the intent.
I thought I had emailed everyone the red line, but that's fine. I can put draft on it real fast and shoot it back over.
I think that's what our discussion was for the last meeting anyway. I can forward it, whatever. It's just
Okay, here, I'll just do it right now. You'll have it in the next 30 seconds.
Okay. And I'll get you find it again.
When did they get to Hanson?
Don't know. They were going to try to get started on it here in October, but I know he was looking for scaffolding and stuff, but they didn't get started yet. So I'm hoping that
on the timeframe as far as that Hanson grant? What's that?
Yes, the band shell? Yes, and actually I had that in my clerk report. We did get, I'll go ahead and,
I mean, are there any kind of a timeframe?
oh, yes. Can't remember what I put in the application as far as when it would be completed. I think I put the end of November was the,
Completion time, the 15th of November.
that's what we put. So yes, we did receive the $5,000 from the Community Foundation for that.
I do know they was looking for scaffolding, so I'm thinking that they're thinking of getting started. So,
They've been really good. Every project that we've got for grants right now, the dog park, the Veterans Memorial, everything that we've applied for grant funding, the theater project, I've had to request extensions on because, and they've been very understanding because of, the issues with labor and supply chain, so,
well, I think Roger and Travis know that they've got to get it done here in the next couple of weeks because it can really change fast. Okay, do I hear a motion to accept and file the superintendent report? Moved by Dara, second by Amanda, all in favor? Approved. Attorney report?
I have gone through most of the stuff that I had already. We have a bunch of cases that are open that are just kind of outstanding. I met with Cody today for a couple hours to go through them, just to see if we need to dismiss them or if there's reasons for keeping these warrants outstanding. I will be going through that. I met with Lila after I met with Cody to just kind of get any more information or her opinion on the matter as the city clerk, since she is kind of my point of contact other than the council. And so we have several that we're dismissing just because it would be too much of a hassle to try and go through with finding them. We have several we're dismissing because the process of telling them they need to come back, we don't want them to come in. It's better if they just stay where they are. And we have several that we have the warrants, we're going to leave the warrants outstanding because that's what's deterring them from coming back. So we've made those decisions, and I think that between the sheriff and Lila's knowledge of it and what the records that I have, I think that's what's in the best interest of the city and probably the county at large. So that is my municipal court update. I don't have anything else.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept and file the attorney report? Moved by Amanda, second by Phil. All in favor? Approved. Clerk report?
So we already talked about the grant. The other thing that I've shared is the ARPA funds. Scott, you should have it there, and everybody should have it out on the share. So this is the calculator. This is the main page from the calculator. It's a spreadsheet, and there's spreadsheet pages for each of these funds. And basically, I just plugged in the numbers from our budget, the actual numbers from 2019 and the actual numbers from 2020, and then it calculated out the revenue loss. And I think I'd mentioned this before. The Treasury assumes a growth rate of 4.1%. That's pretty high for most municipalities like ours. That's a pretty high growth rate, but that's what they assume, and that's across the board for everybody. So that's what's used to come up with these calculations. So the revenue replacement on the right-hand side is what they calculate to have been the loss over 19 to 20, what we should have had and we didn't get for each of these funds. And this is money that we can use from the ARPA funds, and we can just put back into those funds and spend them however we want. We don't have to justify the spending for this. So it's really good that we can do that.
Is that federal money?
Yes. The total revenue replacement was $52,075.25, and you can see up above the various funds that showed the revenue loss and what it is. They also allow 10% of the total amount of the ARPA funds that we're getting as administrative costs. So that's the cost for me and the new person to administer these funds as long as we are administering them, which is going to be for another 3 or 4 years. So that money, I got a call out to the league about that. I believe that money will go back into our utility fund because that's where I'm paid from, is out of the utility fund. So I believe that will either go back there or it'll go into the general fund, one of the two. So tonight, what I really need from the council is, do you want these funds to be put back into the funds that they are designated here? And if so, I would need a motion to do that. But basically what it is it's just a transfer of the funds from our grant fund, where they're sitting right now, over to these various funds that they can go to. And according to the auditors, since it's a revenue replacement, it doesn't affect our budget authority in those funds. It's like a grant, and it doesn't affect the budget authority for this year if we do it within the year that we get the funds. So I hope that makes sense.
Everybody think, put it right back, just the way they put it? Do I hear a motion to do that? Moved by Dara, second by Larry, all in favor? Good.
What's the special highway fund?
That's the money that we get from the gas tax, and the money in that fund can only be used for street stuff.
We used to get $150,000 there. Years back,
We get about 30, 35.
yeah. When I first came on, it was $150,000, $180,000 a year.
And they would actually do some work at that.
Yes, they did some work at that time.
And I think we've got, some of that is supposed to be for the Spencer Street. I think it was the Spencer Street intersection. That's probably not going to happen this year, is it? So it just accumulates and accumulates. But did that answer your question? That's what that is. I think right now we've got about $60,000 in the special highway fund.
So 3 or 4 crossings.
Yeah. I mean, you can use it for anything on the streets. Transient guests is from the hotels and stuff. Okay. We'll get that taken care of. And then the only other thing I have tonight is Jen Blair her anniversary is this Friday, and she has 33 hours of vacation that she's not been able to use. I'd like to be able to allow her to carry that over. Okay.
Does everybody agree with that? Okay.
That's it.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept and file the clerk report? Moved by Larry, second by Cale, all in favor? Okay, council comments. Cale.
Anything on the state thing?
On the crossovers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I sent some Michael Baxter today.
Yeah, what did that entail?
We need to get some additional information to him.
Oh, okay. All right.
Amanda? Sarah?
Finally, December 6th, Monday evening, Vex and the representatives doing get together Santa, kind of like last year, when we were all downtown. Santa comes down Main Street, and then we'll go to 202, and maybe set that in there. So, just so you guys are aware that there'll be stuff going on in Main Street. December 6th.
6th, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Larry? Okay, well, I think we're going to have to go ahead and discuss the clerk position, so we'll go ahead and close here and go into executive session on that. Yeah, I don't know if anybody needs to be here but council.
No, I'm just writing my...
I'm saving what I'm doing.
Good night. Yeah.
Good night.
we've ever had since I've been here a year and a half ago.
She's pretty
We're still not done.
Well, that's-
I think that's fast.
That's the best meeting I've ever had.
30 minutes, maybe. And it was fine with two of those.
It was pretty short.
Pretty short, yeah.
But Scott was gone, Amanda did it pretty, there was one meeting where Amanda was like, nope, we're going on. She was like, we're done with this. I don't think there was a lot on the agenda that night.
Well, we talked with Cody for quite a while there, so that's been a
Yeah.
while, but we needed
Yeah, we
that.
were probably catching up
We
from the last.
needed that,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've been here since June, so that's
Yeah, we needed that
Yeah.
time.
3 months in.
Yeah, and I was, yeah, when he's like, when are you going to give me the thing for that? And I was like, I just explained to him, I was like, I can't write citations. Like, I can summons people to court, but somebody else has to sign the thing. So, I'm glad we got that worked out. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
All right, so how much time do we need?
Oh, I'd say it'll take 15 minutes, won't it? Or I'll take longer than that even.
We might go back in.
Make the motion to go into executive session to discuss the elected personnel for the purpose of discussing job applicants for 15 minutes with the mayor and council to resume at 8:07. It's 7 after, so 8:22.
Okay, moved by Amanda, second by Cale.
Okay.
Okay, we've come back out. We need to go back in for approximately 10 more minutes, so somebody want to make the motion?
So moved to
Second.
come back out. 8:38,
Yeah.
Make it 8:40.
8:40.
8:40.
Yep.
Moved by Amanda and second by Cale. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we've come out of executive session. There was no decisions made other than we're trying to figure out the date to do the follow-up interview, yeah. So is Monday going to work or not?
I'll make it work.
Did you know why David's out, or will he be around?
He was sick.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he should maybe be around.
Yeah, he was not happy that he couldn't be here, but he's been pretty sick, he said.
I think so too.
Yeah. We'd like to bring them both back in to interview them next Monday.
Bring them both.
Erica and DJ, both. And just a few more questions and talk about salaries too.
Please. At 7 again?
At 7 again, so whatever works best for them, call them. And what do you think?
Do we need another half
I don't
hour?
think we need a half hour for each one of them. I think 15 minutes each. I think from 7 to 7:15 and 7:15 to 7:30.
Is that going to give you enough time for a foundation?
Yeah.
So just talk from that side of this.
I know, I'll be here.
She didn't have to move her vehicle.
Yeah.
So I guess that's all we need is if you could contact them and say we want to have a second interview. Then we can make a decision.
Okay.
And as far as the,
And are you getting a hold of them? Or
I'll have Lila contact them.
And are you doing all of them? Or
No,
Just
just-
the two.
Just the
Follow
two.
up on the references on the one.
What's that?
Follow up on the references on the one.
On Erica?
Yeah.
I could follow.
Since you
I
got a hold of
Yeah, I'll try to get a hold Yeah, so whichever one for DJ and Erica said we're going to interview. And as far as budget part, real quick, we'd be all right with starting them at 40,000, don't you think?
Mhm.
And
Yes.
then we thought we'd start them at 40, because we talked about 38 to 42. Start them at 40, and then give them that 6-month period to, if they catch on quick and do really good, because we'll rely on you a lot on that. If they're catching on good and working hard at it, then we'll give them the $2,000 bonus at the 6-month period, and then you basically starting out at a $42,000 job with the benefits. We'll just start them at 40 to start with.
And how many hours would you throw at them? 40 to 50 hours a week?
So I've been working a lot, but it's because we really need more help in there. I'm going to say 40 hours would be expected. And I think I told Scott this. It's a salaried position, but the council probably will want to consider what that expectation is. When I started the job, my personal expectation was I should be here from 8 to 5 because I'm the face of City Hall, and if our public needs somebody, I need to be here. I wasn't told that, though. That was just my...
Yeah, I think we do need to tell them that they really need to be here from 8 to 5.
It's,
That's not all.
And it's going to be a 40-hour plus week. I mean, there might be some
40
time.
to 50 hours.
Yeah.
It just depends.
I do think you need to say, if you're going to do that, 40 to 50.
yes.
What about lunch?
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's a lunch. There are
She
many
doesn't go
days.
until mid-afternoon.
at my desk, so,
I would say that would be reasonable because there are times, budget time,
Yeah,
times like that where you are going to put in, this person is going to put in more than 40 hours.
yeah.
With the council meetings and stuff, and, yeah, that would be an expectation to set.
Yeah, because when you add in all the extras, it adds up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm assuming I will probably stay on as the municipal, doing that part, the court stuff, because that's really too much.
Thanks for volunteering.
I'm getting the hang of it, and I'm kind of enjoying it.
And kind of the grant stuff, not saying that you can't show some of the ropes, but we
Absolutely.
lost that part-time person of the court, municipal court.
2030 is a long ways away.
And we don't need to throw which candidate we pick into the wolves yet.
Oh, yeah, it's,
And I think as long as the municipal court is as busy as it is, even after you're ready to go, we will still try to
Try to keep
part-time.
somebody.
I think that would be a
Unless
wise
things
idea.
change
Yeah.
in 2030.
You guys are funny.
All right.
Okay. Who should first? Amanda?
And then Larry.